back with another message to heal your soul. And today, I want to be talking to you guys about the different kinds of attachment styles. Attachment styles are the ways that people form emotional bonds with other people. And this is from your childhood, basically what you learned from a childhood emotionally, and how you emotionally treat others and yourself in that aspect. So we're going to be going through 4 of the main attachment styles. So for number 1, we have secure attachment style. This is the ability to feel at ease in relationships. This is healthy. You are then able to trust self and others, leaving you to be able to be emotionally available. You're able to freely express thoughts and, emotions, feelings at the moment. You're able to express healthy boundaries. You're able to regulate your nervous system knowingly through breathing technique, rewiring your brain, and being able to respond with ease and knowing what you want, and allowing that for yourselves. Really engrave that's you allowing yourself to feel that way. Secure. Taking care of your mind, body, and spirit. Very important. Thus, you are authentic with giving and receiving love easily. We all want to strive for the secure attachment kind of, feeling and security within yourself. I feel like I've gone from anxious attachment / avoidant attachment and disorganized as well, like every one of those. And I healed myself in the aspect of shadow work, and I became a secure attachment. But we're going to go through more just to show just how these attachments can affect you. I want to also mention to you guys that the secure attachment style shows that in your childhood you could have potentially grown up with parents that were more on the secure side, emotionally available, for you to be able to express yourself and your needs with ease. On to the next one. Next, we have avoidant attachment style. Avoidant attachment is due to the lack of trust in others. I can tell you guys that I had this attachment style, and I grew up with the feeling of having to feel like I needed to be in solitude, and I needed to, be, paranoid about others, and the aspect of trust and opening up, you know what I mean? And it was because of a relationship with a parent or both parents that I had. So I did some research, and it says that growing up, as a toddler, you were exploring your emotions: happiness, joy, nurturing, frustration, etc. And your caregiver, however, could not give you the time that you needed. They could not physically be there for you due to an absent mind dedicated to giving food and shelter. And it was to a point where they wanted to make it their number 1 priority to feed you, and forgetting about your emotions and just your entire existence as to who you are, not learning you as their own child. The parent initially ignores the child's emotional needs due to a similar upbringing that they had gone through. And this is them inflicting their traumas that they haven't healed onto their own child, and forcing them then to go through what they went through. They're bringing their own child up, raising them up with the own emotional wound that they carried. And I can tell you, I've experienced this with my mother. It was a relationship that never quite blossomed, and I feel as if the similar things happened to her in her upbringing. So it is relatable in the avoidant aspect. My mother avoided me, and my father did too in an aspect, but he was there. So it was more so like a anxious attachment with my father. Back to the avoidant attachment style, the person feels as if they cannot give love easily, developing a mentality of, if my caregivers don't care, why should I? And why should anyone else? And that mentality brings people to low points as to where they avoid their emotions so much where they can't even, be their true selves. Growing up to dismiss their feelings, feel triggered by intimacy, feel insecure at times, avoid conflict and intimacy, dismissing emotions, no presence, not being present, not being in the moment, but, in your head more, controlled by substance abuse and depression. If this feeling of an anxious attachment style continues in your mind and cycles in your brain and in your life, internally and externally, when it becomes an extreme, it can become narcissistic personality disorder. And I feel as if I should talk on that on a separate video. But yes, on to the next one. Number 3, we have anxious attachment style. Anxious attachment style develops from a lack of trust in self. As a toddler, you are developing emotional intelligence and you are associating events with these emotions. Basically, you are learning how to control your emotions. In the situation with an anxious attachment style, the caregiver is often absent, inconsistent with the way your emotions are reinforced. This means they may act, out or different in different situations. They may change their behavior for similar situations, leaving you just confused and not knowing how to really respond to your own feelings and to theirs. I can certainly relate to this. I remember when my father, he used to take his anger out on me. I used to be coming home from high school, sophomore year, freshman year, and always defending myself and then having to come home to defend myself more, but to be shouted at and then confused as to how to feel about it. I was left to feel defeated. And I couldn't really even express that to my father because he would be there, but then sometimes he wouldn't. And I didn't know whether he was going to be angry or not. So I just chose to bottle up my feelings, and that made me become just unstable, unable to trust myself, and confused and leaning on other people for some sort of validation because I couldn't give it to myself and my parent couldn't because they were unstable in that emotional, aspect. As a child, though, when you were little, you're just much too small and you're still growing and evolving. So you're much too little to understand why your parent is doing the things that they're doing. And you're too little to get that there are things going on in their life too that may be hard on them and you don't know that, but they eventually take it out on you. Their problems are completely outside of your awareness, which is completely oblivious to you, because you're just little and you're just their kid. And these parents that lack these self-soothing habits tend to take out their anger on their kids on their bad day, because they feel as if, there's no other outlet to plug in their emotions, so they're going to take it out on their kid and then they're going to leave them to deal with that on their own as they go on their own, prioritizing their feelings over their own child's. And as the child grows, they may develop these sorts of characteristics, which they can release with shadow work again, writing it out, releasing it, meditating, releasing it, seeing it for what it is overall. However, this can lead to instability, to be decisive with emotions, needy and constant need for validation, inability to develop a sense of trust within self or others, lack of confidence and feeling like the root cause to all bad things in your life and other people's lives, abandonment issues as an adult, lack of boundaries, lack of consideration for self, becoming demanding or controlling at times. And if extreme, this can lead to OCD disorder, bipolar disorder, and panic disorder. So let's go on to the next one. Last one. And lastly, there's disorganized attachment style. This comes from feeling unsafe in the home setting, growing up as a kid and then becoming an adult. with the same kind of mindset of feeling unsafe, you know? You could have been feeling unsafe around a parent or even around just a setting specifically where you were raised up, thus forcing you to develop coping mechanisms to feel, some sort of comfort or security. And I can tell you that I really can relate with that kind of, situation. I grew up in a household where it was just, always in the hood, always the ghetto, and just different households where certain men in my own family would prey on me, even as a little girl, even as a baby. And I developed these mechanisms that really stuck with me but were traumatic, And it was just scary situations always that I always had to prepare myself to either have something or hide or have a backup plan, where to go, things to do, or how to think, even how to even be, just to sit. Just situations where you shouldn't have been in as a kid. And I get that completely, and nobody deserves to be in that situation. And I'm sorry if you have been, because you never deserved that. You deserve much better, and you deserve to be taken care of as a little kid. As a toddler, you are now finding outlets to make yourself feel more safe and secure as you are connecting events with emotions. Your caregivers become your both source of fear and comfort, unfortunately. Their behavior is always highly unpredictable with their reaction to any situation. So you're always just feeling like you're walking on eggshells, unfortunately. And I can relate to that. I remember feeling like I couldn't even open up and speak the truth to my parent. And it was so burdening because it was like, how can I be myself? How can I dress how I want? How can I speak my truth? And then you say you love me, but that's conditional love if you're not willing to even hear me, you know, or cater to my feelings, at least, you know what I mean? I know a lot of people can relate to that with their own, family members. And no, I'm here for you. With this attachment style, the parent has chosen to hold out on their own traumas and again play these out on their own child and raise them with this kind of, similar upbringing that they were forced to go through. These unresolved traumas impedes them from any sort of consistency. The caregivers can become addicted to drugs or substance abuse. They could be mentally ill, emotionally unintelligent, unaware, or physically or emotionally abusive. They may use love and comfort as a form of manipulation towards the child. This is for them to control the child. This leads to the child growing up with a mix of avoidant and anxious attachment styles. And I can tell you guys that I had that and I chose to heal that. And I remember my father, this is like an example of what a parent like that of an disorganized attachment style child would say. They would say something of the sort like, well, I clothe you, I feed you, so you need to do this. You're lucky I feed you. You're lucky I give you a place to live. Basically telling you you're lucky that I take care of you even though I should anyway. Even though it's my responsibility to care for you and make sure you're okay and taken care of as your guardian. Initially, as a parent within this disorganized attachment style, they're holding necessities over your head as a form of manipulation. And this is unacceptable. Absolutely. As a parent, no parent should do that to their child. Their child deserves the utmost best, to be raised in the utmost way, taken care of, nurtured, you know. Think of the child that is physically abused by their caregiver, but also is afraid of the police. They will hurt their caregiver. The child will then become the caregiver and the nurturer. They're becoming the caregiver and the nurturer to the parent because the parent is unable to feel stable within their self. and they have brought that feeling onto their child. So their child feels like they have to now parent their parent. The child is trying to overcompensate now for the lack of feeling secure, forcing them to withstand the abuse and protect the abuser. This leads to the child growing up with a mentality of lack of feeling secure within their self and feeling paranoid. Growing up confused on how emotions are expressed, shown, or received, even. There's a difficulty with giving and receiving love. There are no boundaries, and the person is self sacrificing in different ways, which are not beneficial to them. The person becomes avoidant, indecisive, uncertain, insecure, and if extreme, leading to ADHD, bipolar disorder, PTSD, codependency, and social anxiety. I can tell you guys that I did not trust myself. I feel like I had every one of these disorders with both of my parents being so dysfunctional in my life. I felt like I was so avoidant to people when they did try to become, intimate with me or emotional with me. I was like, I don't want to talk about feelings. I don't like feelings. Feelings are not something I would talk about because it's not something I ever grazed upon with my own, parents. We didn't talk about feelings, so I would just be like so numb and like blank to it all. I used to be like, no. It was never something that was normal in my life. Now that I really allowed myself to be as free and just be vulnerable in the aspect of not caring what anybody thinks and knowing that my word is law, my being is law, and it's like you can express yourself. This attachment style, you're all over the place. Your mind is dispersed because you're not knowing just where your feelings are or where you're wanting to direct your feelings, at least, you know what I mean? And I can completely relate to that. And the advice for you that I have is trust yourself, trust your judgment, and believe in yourself. Allow yourself to have, boundaries and standards for yourself. Know that your intuition is always going to lead you in the right place because you do have pure intentions for yourself and others. Regardless of what you've been through, forgive the person that has hurt you. Forgive them, for they had known better, and they were shown better. Back to the disorganized attachment style person growing from a child to an adult. As an adult, you may find yourself in more abusive situations in relationships, specifically relationships. They tend to be where your partner is physically abusive towards you. They will make you believe they love you and then hurt you for any reason. Think. Be mindful of the women that are abused and choose to never report the abuse because they are willing to protect the abuser, because they don't want the aggressor to be upset with them because now they're attached to them in a way where they don't want them to get hurt. They just want best for them, but they are hurting them. You get it? And that goes back to just allowing yourself to know that you can heal. I know that I can heal. You're here for a reason. You're here to heal all of that you've been through. You know what I mean? You're stronger than that. You're stronger than everything that's ever happened to you. You're bigger than that. I love you guys. I hope that was very informative. I hope that resonates with you. If you have any questions, go ahead and leave them in the comments because I got you. And bye.